All right, so I don't have any slides this morning because those tend to distract me. But what I want to do is go over some of the key strategies that has worked for me in the past that I think could be useful for everyone in here. So I'm assuming, how many people in here are in e-commerce? I'm assuming just a few, okay. So it's going to be heavy lead generation, and I'll leave some questions or some time at the end for questions to ask specifically for e-commerce. Because my business, we work with both e-commerce and lead generation. It's 50-50. And so there is a slightly different approach that you want to take depending on what you're selling. But we'll start off with the lead generation. So number one, when businesses, I heard quite a few questions yesterday about how do I generate more demand or leads for my business. Here's a structure you can use right away that typically works very well. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do, and you're going to run an ad, okay? And I'll break the details down. This is just the actual structure, but you're going to run an ad. You're going to run that ad to a training of some sort, okay? And we'll talk about what that training should be. After you do a training, you should have a book a call calendar funnel, okay? After the book a call calendar funnel, you guys either are probably the salespeople in your own businesses or you have a sales team. That's where you should take them through a 3-step sales process on how to walk them through to actually purchase, okay? So, number one, when you're running the ads, the key to running the ads effectively is not only your targeting, but you need to focus heavily on the messaging, right? So where a lot of people I think make a mistake is they run their advertising and it's very generic. You know, my name is Greg Marshall, I do social media marketing, hire me, right? And that's not very compelling. Instead, what you need to focus on is having a strong ad hook in some way. And you can do that via video or image, but the ad hook has to kind of stop the person in their tracks and create a level of curiosity, right? So the best ads that you see out there are the ones that essentially say, they make you think hard about something, right? So you said, what if I made a certain decision 10 years ago, where would I be today, right? That would be an ad hook. You would start your ad that way instead of like, hey, this is Greg Marshall, you know, blah, blah, blah. I've done this for 15 years. This is how good I am. Because the customer doesn't really care how good you are, right? They care about what can I do for them, right? And that's what we need to focus on. So when you create the ads, messaging is where people feel like, well, what do I say in my ads, or how do I speak the language of my customer, right? There's a very easy way to do that. Talk to your best customers, and I'm thinking of you yesterday when you were kind of talking about this. Talk to your best customers, interview all of them in depth, okay? So not like, hey, why do you like working with me? Because I'm cool? Probably, you know, that's not enough, right? I mean, you got to actually know, why did you hire me versus the guy over there, or the lady over here, or the gentleman in the back? Why? Why did you hire me? The other thing is, how do we make you feel, right? When you work with us, do we make you feel a certain way? Okay? The other thing to ask, what negative experiences have you had with your competitors? Or what deters you from them, right? And you ask them in depth in a heavy type interview setting, and you take it very seriously, like hopefully most of you guys are now with me talking, taking notes, right? And you actively listen. You just sit there and you just try to digest everything they're saying, right? Then the next thing is, once you hear the commonalities of what they're saying, you start building your campaign around that language, okay? So you're going to speak the same language that your best customers speak. Now, the other thing is, if you don't look like your typical customer, you may want to hire someone who looks like them in order for them to see themselves in the ad.
Sorry, say that one more time.
If you don't look like the customer that you're going after, you may want to hire someone that looks like them, okay? Now, the example I'm going to give is, I've run a bunch of different tests with marketing campaigns, and I've noticed, I'm a man of color, right? So I have a pretty heavy base of clientele that are African American or Hispanic, right? Now the reason for that is because a lot of the marketing, I'm in it, right? And so they're hearing a message, but they're hearing it from someone that looks like them. So therefore, they're responding. I've tested it where I put the same message, but with someone else that looks like the audience they want to go after, and it works, right? So there's a level of your customer has to see themselves in the ads in order to respond. They have to. So if you have, if you're selling to a specific avatar and you have the exact opposite, because I've seen this happen a lot. Clients will say, my marketing's not working, I can't generate anything. It's because you're not actually speaking the same language to the audience you're trying to get. That's why they're not responding, right? So as you think that through, think of your ad hooks, use them from the actual language your customers are saying, right? That's how you develop them. And they have to be strong. So it has to be something that people really feel an emotion, okay? Most of you guys in here are probably salespeople, right? Or understand sales in some capacity. Sales is all about people buy with emotion and they justify with logic, right? We're not buying things, so when you're presenting your products, people typically say, yeah, I like to use the example of like a car, right? The way people sell their stuff, especially in their marketing, because marketing and sales is essentially the same. The way they're selling it is like, hey, I have this car, it has 4 doors, it has a motor, a steering wheel, and 4 seats in there, right? And those are all the features. That doesn't make anyone feel any type of way, right? But if you're selling a Ferrari, you would say, this thing is going to make you look like you're more successful than anyone else in your peer group. And that might hit the hot button that person wants to buy, right? So let's say they have a competitive streak and their core value is, I want to be seen as better, above, and more high performing. That's how you would sell that. You wouldn't say it has a very powerful engine, nice wheels, right? So that's how you have to develop your marketing messages in order for them to succeed. And the reason why I'm kind of harping on the messaging first is because without the right messaging and knowing who you're talking to, it's not going to work, right? It's just going to fall on deaf ears. So what you want to do is understand the pains, the fears, the emotions, everything that you can. Get that customer avatar. Don't do, my customer's 35 to 54, male, and they live in Utah. That's not enough. That's simply not going to work. You have to understand, like, this person at night is afraid of going broke tomorrow. This person at night is afraid that they're not being the best parent that they can be. Does that make sense? So you develop your messages in the way that is speaking to the big pain point and what they want to achieve in the future and how you can actually solve that. Okay, so if you want to actually get the responses that you want, focus heavy on the marketing mindset of the customer. So you're actually marketing to the mindset, not the age or gender or what they do for work, right? Because there's many people that are in professions that, although they may be, let's say real estate agent or an investor or blockchain or crypto, right? They have other aspirations. There's many layers to a person. Levi and I were talking about this earlier. There's many facets to a personality than just what we show on the surface, right? So that's why you need to understand and interview and test and see what messages resonate and how do people respond. And one of the things I like to talk about with creating the messages, your goal should be, no matter what business you're in, your goal should be to drive a reaction strong enough to where maybe the person gets teary-eyed or even cries, right? That's how you know you're doing it correctly to get the response, okay? Next, when we think about tactics, so people think, well, what works better? Facebook, YouTube, Google, they all work great. The way you need to focus your mindset is go to the traffic source where your customers actually are at, okay? Start there. And then what I recommend, especially if you struggle with advertising or you don't know what to say or what to do, pick one channel, don't do multiple. Pick one channel, dominate it, and then move to the next. So you'll start to stack, okay? For example, what's a business in here that is struggling maybe with generating leads? Photographer, right? So what do you think your biggest challenge is when it comes to generating leads?
I don't know. If I knew that, I would be struggling.
So you just kind of feel lost on what your marketing and things should be, right?
Yeah, so I'm running a Facebook ad, and we were talking about this yesterday. It's worked before, it's now stopped working. It doesn't seem like it's hitting the right location.
Okay. So that's one of the challenges maybe is location targeting. Okay, so when you think about social media and your targeting, right? One of the things that has changed, in my opinion, based off testing, is you can actually have the targeting be, if it's location based, obviously have targeting the location, but it can be broad because the algorithms have gotten smart enough to figure out who you're going after as long as you're using the right language in your ads, yes?
Well, share with them what the photography is that you're doing, because I think hers is key to the emotion.
Got it.
Who her audience is, because it's not, when she told me she did photography, I'm like, well, what do you do then? And she told me,
Sure.
It's complete an emotion.
Got it.
If she hit on that emotion.
Yep.
And dug deep on that specific audience.
Well, what emotion are you trying to elicit?
Who's
So my audience is women, typically 40 to 65 or 70. And I run a whole campaign where they come and tell me their story, I take their portraits. I publish their story and their portrait in a magazine.
Okay.
So the emotion is like, I'm getting older, I don't feel the same as I did when I was younger, I want to capture who I am right now, I've been through a lot in my life, I want to feel beautiful, special, and amazing.
Got it. So their main emotion is they want to feel special, and they probably still want to feel young, right? Because that seems, from selling personal training, I remember talking to a lot of women, 39 years old, 49 years old, they hear the number 40 or 50, they get very concerned because they're like, I'm getting old, I'm no longer in that, I'm no longer, in their minds, the attractive young female, right? And I think what you want to do is, how are you communicating that to the audience? How are you telling them, like, this is what I do?
So just kind of in summary, I start out talking about how, like, the older we get, the more we have to offer because we've been through more.
Okay.
The more we have to offer, but we see ourselves less and less in social media and the media in general.
Yep.
And then talk to them about how they can come in for the session and get pampered and feel amazing and just connect with themselves in that way again.
Got it. So one of the things that I would suggest is, if you haven't already done it, is create 3 to 5 different video style campaigns with women that look exactly like the target audience that you're going after. And you can even have them be like slightly different, like maybe one's Caucasian, Hispanic, you know what I mean? And then in those videos, be very specific, like have a theme on each video of what objection you're basically overcoming when you're running those campaigns, right? Then the key, so the key part that is often missed out because people don't want to, I guess, quote unquote, pester their potential clients, is follow-up, right? So you want to use retargeting, heavy in your campaign. So people that are watching certain videos or the length of certain videos, you want to create custom audiences to retarget those people, right? And then within those many marketing messages, you want to have a very specific message that's tailored for each one of those videos. Does that make sense? So that if your goal in marketing is always to be the person watching the video or seeing the picture or reading your website should feel like you somehow did research on them individually. And how do you know that much about me, right? Kind of like how Cole got me this morning, where he says he's from Rochester and he had a little bit of a background in health and fitness. And I was like, you've been doing research on me? So that's good marketing. That's strong right there. But that's what I mean is you want that person to feel like you know too much about me. But because of that, I want to talk to you and engage, right? Next thing is when you're running the campaigns, you want to make sure you have a strong offer. Okay, so it can't be weak. Like, hey, give me a call. Like here's one that I see a lot. Click on my ad and let's talk on the phone. Man, I can't wait to do that, right? especially with a stranger. Right? I can't wait to do that. Because we know I'm not going to get sold to, right? It's not a sales pitch, right? It's just going to be, let's get to know each other and have a good time, right? It's not going to be that, right? So what you have to do is you have to be patient, okay? You need to create an offer where the person can get value first and get a feel for what you do before you try to hurry up and get them on the phone, right? And you have to, the other thing is you have to switch your mindset from what's in it for me, because that's usually like selfish marketing, right? I spent $1,000 on this one campaign and I didn't get a return. The customer doesn't care. You need to be thinking, what can I give the customer that actually they see so much value that they just want to dump money to you, right? That's how you got to view it. ROI focus sometimes can be so selfish that the messaging you put out there comes off that way, right? I'm a big believer in the energy of like, you have to be thinking customer first. One of my favorite marketers is Jay Abraham. You probably know who that is. His advice that I've always taken to heart is fall in love with your customer and be their advisor, right? Don't be their taker, right? I'm not going to be here and take them and get as much as I can and go to the next person. You're trying to develop a lifelong like relationship, right? So you should actually want to help them out. Crazy, right? So in your retargeting campaigns, if you guys aren't familiar with what retargeting is, essentially all it is anyone who has watched a video or clicked on your website, you can pull them into an audience where you can follow up with them, right? The retargeting that I find that works the best is to give them content-based information. And so what I recommend, if you're going to use this method, write down a list of all the objections that your potential customer has, and then create video campaigns and or blog campaign, whatever your method of delivery is that you feel the most confident in, podcasting, and create content that actually helps them overcome whatever is getting in their way, right? If you do that, you don't have to worry about how long should the video, there's no magical number like, a minute and 17 seconds is what gets you the highest conversion. There's no magic number there. It's as long as you need to get the point across where the person sees the value, okay? There's also another point where if you create content that's long, because some people say, well, people don't have, that kind of attention span anymore, because of Twitter or TikTok or whatever platform. It's 100% false, because think about it this way, especially if you sell something that's a lot of money. No one's going to just see a tweet and go, here's $100,000. No one. They're going to say, well, who is this person? What have they done? What's their website? Who else have they worked with? I need to get on the phone and hear your sales pitch. I need to see if you're everything you say you are, right? And there's this whole process. So you can make the argument, the longer the content, the more effective it is for pre-qualifying who you actually want, right? I heard someone in here talk about lead format. It was actually you. You're talking about lead formats to someone else. And you made a good point yesterday about, of course you did, because we're in marketing, so we understand how it works. That sometimes it's not about getting 10,000 leads, right? I can get you 10,000 leads, they're not going to be qualified. I can just run a giveaway, get you 10,000 leads. Here you go, name and email. But that doesn't mean they're going to buy anything or if they're even qualified. So by having longer content, more information, more hoops you make them jump through, the more effective and the more high quality the prospect will be. So sometimes I try to let the client know, don't get overly fixated by lowering your cost per lead, right? Focus more on cost of sale and then lifetime value of that sale, right? And lifetime value is more important because like if you get a customer that pays you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over their lifespan, do you really care if you spend $1,000 to get them? Right? So one's short-term thinking, the other one's long-term thinking. So when you create your campaigns, you want to have all these pieces in place to actually have a successful campaign, right? So strong top of funnel, knowing who you're going after and what you're going to say. And it needs to be well thought out. Can't just be like, I'm just going to run ads and make it happen. It's not going to work. Then you need to have your middle of funnel, which is nurturing, the part that everyone hates to do because they want an immediate return, right? But unfortunately, you have to nurture people who may be interested, but not today, right? And then you have bottom of funnel, call to action, strict call to action, right? So this is someone who maybe has been in your funnel for weeks, for some people months, and then you're actually saying, give me a call, let's get on the phone. That person will get on the phone and the sale will be easier because you don't have to sell so hard because you've used the marketing to help move them along, right? So this is all about patience. So that's what you want to do with that. Make sure your follow-up, that's where everyone, misses out. The fortunes are in the follow-up. Cameron's heard me say that like 1 billion times. And you just can't be afraid to have people say like, I'm sick of seeing your ads, or I'm sick of getting your emails, or I'm sick of your text messages. That's when you know you're doing it right. Because no one actually takes action the first time. I mean, think of it in your mind. When's the last time you woke up, put on the TV, saw a brand new company with a brand new ad and said, buying. No nurture needed, right? Maybe 1 out of 1,000. And usually that 1 out of 1,000 is because the perceived risk is really low because it might only cost you $7, right? So you're like, yeah, even if I lose this $7, it don't matter. Make sense? So hopefully you guys are gaining some value from this. I'm going to kind of leave, some Q&A. So anyone who wants to ask me a specific question, yeah.
Okay, talk about using people who.
Oh.
Having people in your ads that look like your avatar. How do you feel about things like adding in B-reel to represent those people if you don't personally represent those people?
Be real, like as in?
Yeah, adding in just like additional footage, like B-reel footage, like B footage.
Yep.
Is that an effective way to deal with that or address that? Or
I think it's effective if you can do the combination of, because you can use the B-reel or B-roll. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. B-roll.
Yeah, so you can use the B-roll.
Clearly, I'm a photographer.
It's all good. To give them a visual of the goal that they want to achieve, right? Whether it's a lifestyle or, kind of a before and after. So yeah, B-roll works really well.
Okay, and then on the avatar, are you kind of describing like a build your story brand? Is that the concept that you
on
kind
the
of use
avatar?
off of? As far as kind of your background on that, are you using that same kind of SB7 format, the building your story brand concept? Is that sort of where you
I'm not 100% familiar, so I don't want to even pretend like I am familiar with that.
Yeah, it sounds like you wrote the book, though. So maybe you are used to knowing. Okay.
Yeah, but essentially what you want to do is like sit down and think through of how can I communicate to this person to like woo them into wanting to do business with me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going to throw this.
Yeah,
I'm not a good pro.
Okay, I have a good example I want to share.
Sure.
Like I said, I think Ryan is the master of marketing.
Yeah.
Ryan right?
He is.
Okay, so let's rewind 10 years. Okay, Ryan's got 1,000 billboards everywhere, trailers everywhere. In my opinion, world's best real estate agent. Okay, well, my neighbor's home goes up for sale. Okay, so I'm thinking Ryan is just like so untouchable, right? Like he would never answer his phone. My neighbor's home goes up for sale, and I'm kind of going, do we put our house on the market? Do we not? I don't know. And it was kind of that like, I'm just gonna try calling. So I called Ryan. First call. He picked up, it was like 8 or 9 at night. Picks up the call first time. It's not his assistant. It's not.
It's him.
It's him.
Really Ryan.
It's Ryan.
Really
and
Ryan.
I'm like, because like I don't, Emily handles a lot of onboarding now because I haven't been able to, but I can now. But I was surprised, honestly, that he answered. And he's like, well, I'll come over. I'll just tell you what I think you could get from your house. Because Ryan was selling my neighbor's house. So I didn't have a real estate agent. And I was like, okay, do I go with Ryan? Okay, I'll just call him. But he was in my mind, right? First answer. Every time I'd call him, he'd answer. And he sold my house and I bought the neighbor's. So that's a good example of somebody who's just like,
Yeah, and
It's that personal touch where I'm like,
Bingo.
I wasn't sure if I was going to sell. Okay, I'm going to sell my house now.
bingo. No, and that's a great point because
Now I got hats.
Now
My
you got-
sons, my little boys are like, Ryan's there. He's at the meeting.
it's
Mom,
him.
I lost my hat he gave me. Can you get a hat?
It's him.
So I texted Ryan last night. He shows up with 4 hats. I text my sons, boys, I got you hats. Yeah. So they're big fans.
I think
too,
what I'm
so.
going to do is I'm going to take a picture of Ryan later and have him autograph it, and I'll give it
That's
to
a
my
good
son.
idea. Good idea.
You know, Ryan, if you share with one, you have to share with all.
No, I do think though there is merit though to what Ryan does very well,
He
right?
does it
Which-
very well. He has his name out, but then he has the personal touch, the contact. If I needed anything, he would answer his phone,
Yep.
and he was there. So.
Well, one thing too you want to keep in mind that could extend. So this is like some advice that I would give if Ryan actually asked me advice for that is, I would say to extend that. See, you're probably, I mean, you're a business owner, right? So you're more apt to take action. But if you weren't a business owner, you're someone who's introverted, they may be afraid to just like call, right? I don't know. It's intimidating because I see the billboard. Sometimes you can have that awe factor. He may be too big for me.
Well, yeah, I thought he
Right?
was too big, and I was like, I love my house. I don't even
Sure.
know that I want to sell. But he's like, hey, I'll just come. I'll just tell you what I think it could go for, and then he was, and then it kind of progressed from there.
Well, and this is where he would use a content approach. So you could use paid content with like using something like YouTube, right? YouTube would be perfect because you can target the end market for people who are wanting to buy. And what you would do is you would run ads, even though it seems like, why would you do that? It's the same as running a billboard. You run ads to that audience that extends your message, and the content that you're putting in there is only helpful content, nothing to sell, with the full agenda of building a relationship online, right? So saying, what are the gaps that I haven't filled by my billboards or my direct mail or whatever, and how do I fill that gap, right? So what do they need to know about Ryan? Family man, he's got kids, he's jacked at the gym, you know what I mean? I see Ryan at the gym all the time. But you can do that so that they feel like they know Ryan. So when you see the billboard and then you see the content, you're not as afraid,
Totally.
right? You're like, well, he's a family guy, just like me, so I could pick up the phone and call him, and I'm sure he seems like he's a nice guy.
And the funny thing is that's actually more true. I do my marketing where it's like, I gotta get the best bang for my buck.
Yep,
Gotta get the phone number out there, call.
yep,
I wanna
yep,
talk to you.
yep.
But I get more and more of that conversation where people go, I didn't think you'd answer. Or,
Yep.
I thought you ate your young.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
thought he
you're
was
always
so
shocked by it,
big.
right?
I'm missing that
Yep.
piece of the.
That's how you close the gap. Is like anytime you do marketing, they start to see, and the more they see, the bigger you are in their mind, right? So if you're talking to people that may be intimidated by that, a good strategy is to actually build out that content and just keep putting it in front of them. And your ROI is everything as a whole, and you know that, right? But it could get those couple of people that are on the fence that are like, I don't know, he might be too expensive or too busy or whatever. So I'll just call like Sally down the road who just started her real
Okay,
estate.
but we had that conversation last night because I'd really like a rental property or something. And I do have a friend who got her license, and I'm like, I want Ryan
Yeah.
because I know Ryan's the best,
Yep,
you know?
yep.
So it's like, my friend is great and nice,
But still,
but I don't want to waste my time hoping somebody kind of knows what they're doing. So that's kind of where that relationship, it's like, okay, did a good job.
Yep.
And then,
yeah,
more
exactly.
work comes from
Exactly.
that. So I'm happy to pay more. I
Exactly.
really am. And that's why I hope people come to me because we're going to do a good job and it's worth it,
Well,
So-
that's why you want to think relationship, build relationship with your audience. Yeah.
I just think this interchange is so awesome though, because this is exactly what you're talking about. When you're talking B-roll, when we're talking about reality, when we're talking about connection, we're talking about these sort of conversations. And we're laughing about it, but would it be hard, Ryan, for you to take your video and to literally make B-roll, make little Facebook ads
Yep.
on your phone saying, guys, I'm just a regular guy. I
Totally.
know that I have these
Yep.
giant billboards and I look untouchable. I'm not. I answer my phone and I really do want to talk to you. So I think sometimes it's so important to realize marketing feels so massive.
Yeah.
It feels almost like there's so much to it that there's no way we'll ever be able to do any of it.
Yep.
But it really is about just basic connection and letting people see that Jenny, you are a mom, and that your goal is to employ other mothers to be able to be at home and with their children. And that is an awesome ad
Yep,
right
yep,
there.
yep.
I mean, just being able to connect with people and have people recognize that the big billboard and the person behind the billboard, we're just regular people that are living regular
Yep.
lives with a passion for our company and for our business and for the people in the community in which we serve. So it's not as untouchable
Sure,
as sometimes it
sure.
feels. It really is more practical.
Don't be
Yeah.
don't be too business,
Yeah.
right? Like people we're still all human beings. And, at the end of the day, I believe it was Bob, yesterday, his presentation where he talked about we're still, thinking inferior, superior, you behave a different way, right? So if you think about how can I just connect with, you can take literally what he said and use it for your marketing. So I think my time, Cole? I got time for Cole.
Just a quick part on this, because I feel like there's something that stuck out to me was if you don't know your target audience as the marketer, whoever's in charge of it, the people that are helping you out in your business aren't going to know as well.
Yep.
So knowing that target audience and who you're speaking to, like with the B-roll and having who that target audience is, if you know exactly who that person is,
Yep.
and you can explain that, then your employees and people that are helping you out are also going to know that. And if you don't know that, it's the other side.
Yep, exactly.
They're just going to be doing ads that look cool and
Yeah, but they're not speaking to the audience. Yep, they're not speaking to the audience, therefore it won't work. You could win design awards, but you won't win any business, right? And so that's the difference. And I think, at least in my business, the ads that I run that are most successful for me are always the ones that, and people probably think they're dumb ads, but I'll be golfing with friends, and I'll just have someone that I'm golfing with say, hey, take a picture of us real fast. Boom, send it to my designer. They just put something cool. Then boom, you put it out there, and it's just you standing in front of a golf course or something, and it works. Because people are like, oh, because if you think it through, you could actually show them this guy's a real human being. He's not just running ads, but he plays golf. He's got kids. He's doing all these other things just like me.
And I had one more question to follow.
Yeah.
Is, have you had any success or ever done the strategy on social media where you have a pattern of posting? So if you were the top of the funnel,
Yep.
who would message, and then you kind of repeat that pattern.
Yep.
Have you found success of people
Yeah.
repeating that pattern?
Yeah, so if you just, basically what you want to do is see what's working, what stage are you talking to people, and just keep repeating it, right? And then you can use organic social media as heavy top of the funnel, right? And then just retarget them with ads for anyone who's engaged, whether it's in specific time frames or just in general, depending on what your sales cycle is. That's how you should set up your retargeting is you need to first understand how long is my sales cycle. Is it 30 days, 7 days? Is it 90 days, 180 days? Is it a year? And then kind of build your audiences that way.
And are you gauging that by when someone's first exposed to your content,
Yep.
and then when they get on a call with
Yep.
the sales guy?
So I get all the time because it's really hard to sell people on this, in theory, everyone understands the concept. Yeah, be patient, do the marketing. But when you start spending money, that's when things start changing, right? But when you actually think long term, I have people all the time that are like, yeah, I've seen your ads for a whole year already. And I said, almost annoyed, but they're ready to buy. It's well, I did what I was supposed to do, right? And when they ask, does this work? Does this advertising stuff actually work? My response, it's kind of a smart what response, but I'll say, well, you're here, right? You're sitting in my chair, right? So how else did I get you? I mean, you saw an ad, you saw my retargeting, you got the emails, you got the text message, and you came in. So it worked. Anyways, I'm like way over, and I don't want to give Mike like a heart attack, so I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.